Internet freedom, it's a topic of discussion among politicians here in Washington, D.C. But did you know that the United States has its own global spying system? That's right, a system that can track phone calls, emails, and other communications across the globe. Here to talk about the United States' role in cyber warfare is RT contributor and investigative journalist Wayne Madsen. Wayne, thanks so much for joining me. So first of all, this global spying system is called Echelon, I believe, but there isn't that much information out there about it. What can you tell us about it?
Well, several years ago, the European Parliament took an active look at Echelon. And what Echelon actually is, it's not the name of the actual global system. It's a tasking mechanism to get, there's 5 countries in what's called the UK-USA Signals Intelligence Alliance. This has been active since the end of World War II. This system used to listen on radio broadcasts. Now it's being expanded to cyberspace. And what Echelon actually is, the U.S. National Security Agency, for example, can task the British Government Communications Headquarters, their counterpart, GCHQ, to basically, as we know during the lead up to the Iraq War, they asked GCHQ to do surge processing of the delegations at the UN Security Council that were instrumental in the resolution. So basically, it's a tasking mechanism between the United States, UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, the 5 countries that make up this UK-USA alliance. So what we're seeing is, it's interesting, the Obama administration says it's in favor of net neutrality, but at the same time we see them making a power grab into cyberspace, most recently with this deal that was worked out between NSA and Google, whereas they're going to be in a cooperative relationship. And they've got these same deals with other high-tech companies in the information technology world.
Well, that's exactly what I was about to ask you. You know, the United States goes around and preaches about internet freedom and kind of talks about China and censorship in a bad way, obviously, yet something like this exists. I mean, how does that work?
Well, what we're seeing, we only have to look at the White House Office of Information Regulatory Affairs. Dr. Cass Sunstein from Harvard Law School is Obama's advisor on this, and he's talking about imposing taxes on internet sites that put out quote-unquote conspiracy theories. He's talking about basically licensing people, as you would drive on the highway, to basically surf the web. And I think these are very dangerous paths to go down, because how can you talk about net neutrality when in fact what we're seeing is maybe the imposition of multiple layers of access to the internet, which flies in the face of the concept of universal access and net neutrality.
And so is this system spying only on foreigners, or is it also working on U.S. citizens? I mean, how does it work?
Well, historically, the NSA and its partners would spy on abroad, but now we always knew that they were cooperating and spying. For example, we know that the Canadian Communications Security Establishment, CSE, has been used to spy on Americans, and we see similar deals made around the world. But what we're seeing here is an extension of this into cyberspace, and you really can't draw geographical boundaries or borders in cyberspace. So we see a lot of this overlapping into the United States. Patriot Act and its various revisions have allowed basically domestic surveillance. So the old idea that NSA never spies on American or U.S. persons has basically been out the window for an awfully long time.
And I mean, what exactly is the purpose of this? I mean, what kind of communications are they intercepting, or what do they want to intercept, I guess?
Well, the NSA, for example, would say that we're only interested in items of intelligence value, counterintelligence value, counterterrorism value. But we know that in the past, they've been looking at members of Congress, for example. We know that they've done that even when back with phone calls, transatlantic phone calls. They've been engaged in commercial espionage on behalf of American companies, including American auto companies, which is very interesting in light of the recent Toyota revelations. So we do know that they have expanded their portfolio and their brief into looking at things that they historically did not have as a high priority. And for example, like I say, political information and other information that does not really have a foreign counterintelligence or counterterrorism value.
And so obviously we're talking about internet freedom, and a big thing that comes up with the United States and internet freedom is China. The recent news of the day, the London Times reported that NATO diplomatic officials said that there is a cyber war going on between China and the United States. What do you make of that? Is there really a cyber war going on here?
I think this is basically trying to impress politicians on Capitol Hill to get money for all these various initiatives. This is the last place we should see an extension of the Cold War into cyberspace. It's going to have a negative impact on all internet users, both those who use it for social issues, political issues, but also commercial users would be impacted negatively by this power grab by the U.S. government into the realm of cyberspace.
Well, Wayne, I want to thank you so much for joining us. Always interesting to see what the United States is doing when they're preaching internet freedom.